Kids Cook Real Food, Katie Kimball here for the Healthy Parenting Connector, where our goal is to connect you parents who really want to raise healthy kids with the experts who have the information you need. Today, as always, we focus on connection, confidence, and creativity. And today we're going to be a little creative, and we're going to talk about how to sort of protect the environment and save your budget while keeping your family life organized. Because I know especially for some kids who really like routine, organization is key. And for some moms who might be a little more like me, organization is a struggle. So I have Susan Santoro here with us today as our expert to talk about organizing. Thanks for being here, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So kind of let me officially introduce you as the professional organizer. Susan's the founder of Organized 31, and there she shares simple organizing ideas, crafts, and recipes for busy people. We're in the right place. And the backstory is she grew up as a military child, also served in the Air Force herself, and is now a spouse of an active duty military member, which of course means she's moved like 5,000 times, which is a little part of the story. Susan earned a BS in economics from the Wharton School of Business and a Master of Human Relations at the University of Oklahoma. But it was that experience in both military plans and moving and organizing over 25 homes that was the impetus to start Organized 31 to help busy families make the space and time for what's really important to them. And I love that, for what's really important to them, Susan, because I feel like sometimes I'm just like, you know what, all I've done today is move stuff around, and I hate it. And I think your stuff and kind of lack of organization of the stuff can really be a drag on family life and on our kind of whole attitude. So I love that, we're going to talk today about tips revolving around free and repurposed items to really capture that limited time and budget that so many of us struggle with. So this is awesome. Thank you again for being here.
I'm excited.
So your background's really interesting. How does that, like, economics and business and human relations all come together to create this sort of organizational wizard in you?
It's funny because I haven't really thought of it in that way, but I think it's, through economics and business, you're analyzing data and information, and you're trying to plan ahead and solve problems. Mm-hmm. So I think all that problem solving, and then with my human relations, I want to help people. I'm really interested in people and finding ways to help them make their lives better for them. And so I think it just all worked together. And then with my personal experience of moving so many times, so I think it just all worked together to make me love organizing.
Yeah. Oh man. All the moving, like, my heart just sort of seizes up when I think about that, because there are a few things I hate more than moving, but that must have made you a master declutterer, because every move you get rid of stuff. Yeah.
It's funny because yes and no. So yes, you do tend to get rid of things, but you also hold on to things. Like if you move from New Jersey where it's cold to Florida where it's warm, you're going to hold on to those cold weather clothes because in a year or two, you're probably going to move to Kansas where it's cold again. So It's a little bit of both, of getting rid of things, but also holding on to things because you may need them the next move.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. Now, over at Kitchen Stewardship, in my regular blog, we're all about like reducing our impact on the earth. And I know a lot of intentional parents here listening to the Healthy Parenting Connector really understand that mission too. We want to pass on those values to our kids. And so the reason that we're connecting is because I noticed you use a lot of cool repurposed items. So how did you start using those repurposed, reused items to organize?
So because we move so many times, if I bought the perfect bamboo tray to fit like in a kitchen drawer and organize it, and I move in a year or 2 years, it most likely wasn't going to fit in the next drawer.
Got it.
And just with my personality, it drives me crazy. I can't stand to see things go to waste. And sure, I could donate it, but my personal budget, I couldn't afford to every 1 to 3 years be buying brand new, perfect organizing bins or furniture or, those things. So I started looking for ways to save money. And then I started realizing that a lot of packaging that was coming into my home anyways were items that I could repurpose. And of course, you can go to the thrift store and there's amazing blogs and tutorials about how to repurpose all kinds of items from the thrift store. but my focus became more things that were already coming into my home and how I could repurpose those. And if they were items that I could then recycle when I moved, it gave me peace that I was doing my best to minimize my impact on the earth.
And talk about saving time too, because then you don't have to make the trip to the thrift store at the front end, and at the back end when you're moving, you don't have to be like, oh, I have to get rid of these now in a garage sale or Craigslist or whatever. Because that's, to me, that's always so stressful. Like now I have this thing and I'm stuck with it.
It's like, you know me, because number one, I hate to go shopping.
Me too.
So I have to go grocery shopping or, clothes shopping, whatever. So if that thing is already coming into my house, that just saves me an extra trip to go out and buy a bin or a piece of furniture.
Yeah, plus, like you said, so much stuff comes into our house. And again, that to me, I'm like, oh, I can't just throw this away. Like, this is awful. And yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And even with recycling, we're hearing more and more that there are fewer things that can be recycled, and the
Yeah.
whole recycling industry is changing. And so that really started to weigh on me too. And then just the creativity, and in a little bit, I think I'll show you some examples, but as things come into my home, I love the creativity of finding a way I can use it. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. And I know, but I'm glad you brought up that point about recycling changing a little bit. And we know, like, statistically, even just recycling plastic is only 20% efficient. Like 80% of it is still wasted. So, which I hate that stat, because I
I do
want to feel
too.
good about recycling, but
I
there's
know.
a reason that the order is reduce,
Yes.
reuse, and then recycle, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna focus today on the reusing. What are maybe like some other reasons that others might want to use repurposed items for organizing?
So it's great for the budget, because I love those beautiful organizing bins. I mean, I love to go to stores with those, but they can get pricey.
Yeah.
And so it saves on the budget. Also, if you're a person who likes to change things up, likes to rearrange or change the look of items, right? And you've purchased all white bins, and in 2 years, suddenly you think, no, I'd rather have, blue bins. If you use them repurposed items, it's less expensive
Mhm.
to be able to change things out.
Yeah, that's true. And also probably just like testing out, do I even like how I'm organizing this?
So that's actually the number one reason why, like with clients, that I use repurposed items, because when you set up a new organizational system, you might think it's going to work perfectly, but you need to live with it. And you need to try it for several weeks or several months and see, does this really work for my family? And
Mhm.
so if you go out and immediately buy all these bins and baskets and items, and then you find that the way you set it up isn't working for you, what are you going to do with those items? So I like to use repurposed items, even with clients, to first see, is this working? And then they determine, yes, it's working. And then if they want to, they can go and purchase the perfect bin or basket. But it starts you
Mhm.
out to figure out if the system is working, and you don't waste money, or items from the impact on the environment is minimized.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I can definitely relate. I had an organizer kind of visit my kitchen and gave me all these ideas once. And luckily we used repurposed items like shoe boxes and just like cookie sheets I wasn't using, because the strategy completely did not work for me. So it would have been really frustrating a few months later to think, oh, like now I'm stuck with, like you said, these perfect items for the space that just
But
weren't as
that
perfect
don't
as I
work.
thought. Yeah,
Exactly. And
exactly.
then too, life changes. The way that you organize when your children are toddlers is different than when they're tweens or teens. You're
Mhm.
right. Like when they're toddlers, you need everything to be unbreakable, because they're going to pull something out and you don't want it to be glass and break. And you put things up high, or all those kinds
Sure.
of things you do with children. So the items that you need to organize with are different. And so when you use repurposed items, again, it saves the budget and the environment, because you can repurpose them for yet another use, or you can recycle them after.
And switch them out. Do you
Mhm.
have some practical strategies, particularly in like kitchen storage, without spending any money?
So the number one thing, even before I want to talk about repurposed items, is set up your kitchen in a way that makes sense for you. So for
Mm.
example, put your glasses in the cabinet that's near your refrigerator. right? Because you're going to go to the refrigerator for water or juice or tea and have your glasses right there next to the refrigerator, not across the room. Put your dinner dishes near either the table or near the dishwasher.
Right.
Right? You don't want to have to take them out of the dishwasher, walk around the island, across the kitchen, and put them in a different cabinet. Put your hot pads near your oven, right? Because if you have a hot pan or pot, you don't want to have to go across to get the hot pads. So lay out your kitchen in a way that makes sense for how you use it. And I have several blog posts that talk about that, how to lay out your kitchen. And I have one for when you move to a new home, how to assess your kitchen and figure out what will work best for you. Because realistically, we don't all live in HGTV homes. You know,
Right.
I've lived in lots of homes with awkward kitchens, tiny kitchens. We were stationed overseas, and in that country, your kitchen comes with a sink. That's it.
That's
No
it?
cabinets. Yes. So, I mean, they purchased cabinets like furniture for their homes, but that wasn't something I was going to do. So I've lived in all kinds of places, and sometimes the ideal organizational design just won't work for your kitchen. You have to adapt it. So I have a post on how to kind of analyze that kind of thing and figure out what will work best for you. So that's number one. And then secondly, I guess I want to jump into repurposed items if you're ready.
Yeah, let's see.
So some of the things is when items come into your home, really look at them. So here's popcorn and here's rice. And if you go to one of the most popular organizing stores, you can purchase containers exactly like this one.
So true.
Right? So why would I have recycled this and then go purchase one? It takes a little bit of time to get the label off, but again, I have a tutorial on that. So
Nice.
remove the label. We know that these are food safe because they're coming with food. Although I personally prefer glass, but you know, these have already come into my home. So again, why would I go out and purchase a glass container? I'll use this until such time that a glass container comes into my home. If I have younger children and I want the unbreakable containers, the plastic, food safe plastic might be a good option. So look at them when they come in.
Nice. So those, just to clarify, that was popcorn and rice as purchased,
Yes.
but you might repurpose them for something else or buy like bulk popcorn and refill kind of thing?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I've repurposed them for treats, for homemade granola, for, I mean, you know, anything else. Or like you said, if you buy in bulk.
Yep. Yeah, and just to address the plastic versus glass, like luckily when you're talking about dry goods, there's really not much leaching going on. You know, leaching from plastic is going to happen under, you know, liquids, fat, and heat. So with your popcorn, with your, you know, treats, Halloween candy, whatever, not nearly as much of a concern.
Right. And I even have, talking about repurposing, in this exact container, put dog treats that come in the cardboard box that's falling apart. So then I put them in the plastic container for the dog treats. So yeah, any kind of items that are, like you're saying, dry and shelf stable.
Perfect.
So some of the other things, okay, this is my most favorite container, and it comes with lettuce or spinach in it.
Oh yeah.
And organic, like, it always surprises me that the organic lettuce and spinach still comes in the plastic container, but it is a bin. It's perfect for holding all kinds of things. You could put snacks in it. You know, for in your pantry, oatmeal packets. You can put measuring cups, so that in measuring spoons. I use these all over my house. They organize things in my bedroom, but so the lettuce containers.
That's brilliant. And I notice you don't have a lid on that. Do you generally keep like the open containers so you can just reach in and grab?
Definitely.
Okay.
And that's such a big tip because you want organizing to be easy. When you look at the beautiful Pinterest and Instagram, and they have things stacked, and that may be what's required in your kitchen. Like, again, I've had kitchens where I've had to stack things, but if you have the space and you don't have to stack it, if it's open, it's easy to grab and it's easy for someone to put things away in.
Yes, because, and I love that you said that, because I do think that like organizing in pictures is to be attractive, right? Exactly. But organizing in real life is to be practical. It's how fast can you put it away? How fast can you get it out? Boom.
Exactly. And if you want you to use it and your family members, especially children, it needs to be easy, because who's going to take the extra step to take the lid off?
Right.
So,
Or put
I
the
mean,
lid on would be
put the
the
lid
bigger
back on.
problem. You'd have lids all over your counter.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so and this one has a lid on it, but berry containers,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. I put the little cheeses, like the little round cheeses that
Okay.
come in the mesh bag. I'll take them out, and this will be in the drawer in my fridge holding those. It
Nice.
works perfectly. I mean, just all kinds of things. Okay. There may not be a lot of people who use shortening, but herb containers that the herbs come
Yep.
in, and they're clamshell and they open up, and you can use those to hold as a bin, like little utensils or corn cob holders or things in
Sure.
your junk drawer. And then this is another one. So this, I think this one held granola, but if you look at it this way, I have one like this in my refrigerator as a turntable.
Okay, because it's round, clear plastic.
And when it's on the smooth refrigerator shelf, it turns like like a lazy Susan.
Uh-huh.
Depending on your cabinet shelf, it may or may not work well. Like you would have to
Right.
test that out. And it's because we don't need frustration. I don't want you frustrated trying to turn a lazy Susan in your cabinet, but it works really well in the refrigerator. So you
Huh.
can put salad dressings, any kind of containers and have it be able to turn.
Got it. All those things where you're like, oh, I have to take out 7 items to get the one I want.
And
Now you
that's
can just
why
spin it.
and that's why lazy Susans are so popular, because rather than having to take all those things out on the top shelf in the fridge where it's so
Mhm.
awkward to reach in and things fall, or people then just shove them anywhere instead of putting them back where you'd like them to be, you can
Yep.
use that turntable.
That's
Um,
fabulous.
so this is a mushroom tray.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually pulled this out of my drawer. I use it to hold bottle openers and things. So it's shallow. It fits in a shallow drawer. It
Mm-hmm.
works perfectly. So let me
Yeah.
show you something a little bit different. I use, and I have to tell you, my children are teens and in their 20s,
Okay.
but tell me I'm not the only one that has a bajillion little clay pots from school.
Clay artwork. Yep. I recognize the little roll out the snake and make
Yes,
that into a bowl. I did that when I was a kid.
exactly. And I have 3 children, so you can imagine how many of these I have. So this one is actually usually in my junk drawer holding twist ties or rubber bands.
Uh-huh.
But again, you could put little things, corn on the cob holders. You could put it in your fridge and put, if you keep, like from the restaurant, if you get little shoyu packets or anything like
Sure.
that. So look at things that you can really repurpose. And then let me show one other thing. And I think you'd mentioned this earlier, but containers that, excuse me, that lose their lids.
Oh
This one
yeah.
had lost its lid or it broke. And so what would I do with this container?
It's like a shoebox size. It's really nice
Yeah,
Tupperware. Yeah.
so it works perfectly to hold these lids.
Uh-huh.
And I have so many containers in because we've moved, the lid gets cracked or
Yep.
something happens, and I use them to hold my dishcloths. I use them to help organize my baking items. So look at things that you have that can no longer serve their original purpose because the
Right.
lid's broken or there's a small crack.
Mm-hmm.
I also use holiday items. So I have, Christmas containers that you use 3 to 4 weeks out of the year.
Right.
Well, the rest of the time you can use it to organize items.
Like out of sight, so no one's saying, why do you have a Christmas
Exactly.
tree tin?
Exactly. Exactly.
I love
Um,
this. I feel like for any mom, like if you open a drawer or a cupboard and you just every time go, ugh, there's so many different things in here, or like people aren't putting things in the corner I would put them in, or right? Like that's kind of your motivation for, what can I use to like separate and sort, right?
well, exactly that, because if you have a spot for it where it's clearly identified, so if my children know that this container is where you go to get the rubber bands, they know when they have one, that's where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if it was just in the drawer, then it would just be thrown. If I intended it for it to be thrown in the back right corner, they wouldn't know that. They would just
Right.
throw it in there. So
Absolutely.
that's why you want to find containers that you can use to provide definition
Mm-hmm.
for that space, and it holds the items there. You know where to find them. People know where to put them away to help keep the kitchen organized.
So you mentioned your kids. How can we get the kids involved in creating this organization, and maybe why might we want to do that?
Well, you definitely want to do it because, again, organization, the purpose is not to be able to post a picture on Pinterest or Instagram.
Right,
The purpose is,
amazingly.
yeah, I know. And I love them. Don't get me wrong. I'm just as addicted to those as anyone else. But the purpose of organization is to make your life easier because,
Yeah.
especially for families, life is busy enough. No matter what you do to plan for calm, life happens. And so life is crazy. So organization should be a tool that helps keep life calmer and helps you manage life. So talk to the kids first of all and say, for example, you're supposed to put your lunch boxes here, but they don't ever get put there. Why is that? And maybe it turns out that it's awkward for them to put it away, or maybe it's a 2 or 3 step process. I have to open the drawer, and then I have to move this thing that tipped over, and then and you realize, oh, well, it's because it's not working for them. It's not that they're just trying to drive me crazy. It's because it's not convenient. So ask them those kind of questions. And then you can have them help you set up organization. So if you're going to design a new cabinet for lunchbox items, have them help you pull out the items that were in there, because kids of all ages love to pull things out, right?
True.
So why not take advantage of that? And then you can have them help you brainstorm. You can have them help you if you're going to color code items. Like if one child has the blue items, have them help you sort. You can have them, so this was a box, and I just covered in wrapping paper with Mod Podge. So you can have them, do a craft project and help you do that kind of thing, and they'll be more excited to use it.
Yeah.
And then just have them help you set it up if possible, if they're old enough.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many wins there, because first, you're spending time together, which is always at a premium.
Exactly.
Second, you're teaching them this life skill of organizing. But I think third, like when you do it, you know how to use it.
Exactly.
It's not this like dictate coming down from above, like, here's how it all works, everybody memorize this, boom, go, use it correctly, and they know it intimately, they'll know where things go.
And if you have them help you set it up, and you intend for things to be neatly, file folded and stood up, or filed and stood up,
yeah,
and you have them, here, put those in the box for me, and you find that that's just not something that's easy for them to do, before you have even set it up, it gives you a chance to reevaluate and then, find a different way to do it.
That's great. Yeah, troubleshooting the effectiveness. I know I had my daughter this past fall, so she was 11, help with exactly what you just said, the lunch organization. And man, oh, what a mess. Like, we pulled everything out. We were moving things from upper shelves to lower shelves because, we were troubleshooting. Like, why is it so difficult for these to be put away correctly? It's because the kids couldn't, the littler kids who were now starting to pack their lunches couldn't see. And it really worked well. What's funny, though, is that she's like the organization Nazi about it. She'll be like, Mom, I don't know who unloaded the dishwasher last, but they just like threw the lid in the front and it's supposed to go in the back. They're too lazy to pull out the drawer.
Oh, I love that.
So it's funny.
I love that. She's my hero.
She's got ownership for sure.
So one of the other things too in working with them that you can do is label it, like color code or label, and have them help you make the labels. Because again, labels, while they look beautiful on Instagram, the intention isn't that they look beautiful. The intention is that it helps you keep things organized, that you know where items belong. So let me just say, this makes me happy every time I open my drawer.
Because it's personal.
Exactly. And so if I have labels that my children drew, that just wrote, or that just makes me so happy every time I open the drawer. And it's going to make them happy and proud. So they take more ownership of it.
Absolutely. Just like we talk about with cooking and Kids Cook Real Food, there's that connection in families, and you're feeling that connection every time you see the little clay craft from 3rd grade or whatever it is, and the confidence that they can, do something real. Now, I think the $1 million question is, how do we get kids to stay organized, stay involved in that like ongoing organization? And I do think, I love that, like, getting them involved is a good start. Do you have any other like kid tips, because I can't even get mine to like put socks in the hamper.
And I understand, and I will say, it also depends. Like most things with children, you'll get it figured out at one age, and then they'll grow a little older and enter a new stage, and it'll
True.
shift. So in general, if you explain what the reason is, and for example, with the lunchbox cabinet, you remember last year that we were all frustrated and you couldn't reach the items. And so the reason that we're doing it this way is so that it's easier for you and you can help make your lunches and you can pick what you'd like from these acceptable items that, you've put there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's so that you can do it and you can help the family, and whatever your rationale is, explain it to the children. And they will understand, right? Again, I
Mm-hmm.
will say, as the mother of a teen and 20 somethings, how you explain and how you motivate changes over time, but you figure it out how to do that with
Uh-huh.
them. Also, like we had talked earlier, make it easy for them to use. Don't
Yeah.
put lids on things that don't need them.
Right.
um, I personally like things neatly filed so that they're easy to access, but if that's not working for the kids or the family, let it go. So for
Mm.
example, you'll see on Instagram, and when I have time, I do it. I like to put my granola bars all stood up neatly because you can see, oh, I want the raspberry one. I want the blueberry one. That doesn't really work with all children. They're not going to
Uh-huh.
do that. They're going to just tumble through them and they're going to be all falling down and laying flat. And that's okay, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's just reality. And so let it go, be okay with it. Make it easy for the kids to use. We're happy that it's still within the container and that they can make their own lunch.
Right.
So
I love that. I think we have a contributor post on, oh, I forget what it's called, but the system is basically like, if your family's not being organized and they're not putting their books away all stacked up and they're not, stacking their clothing or whatever, just give them baskets. Like if they're tossers, let
yeah,
them toss into a receptacle, into a basket. And then, magically you work with what your family already naturally does, but it all looks a little better because at least there's, boundaries for everything. And I thought, well, that makes perfect sense. So that is actually how we organized our lunch supplies. There's a big basket for larger
hmm
items, there's a small basket for lids and a couple other little pieces. But yeah, so it's just it's totally, I love how you talked about troubleshooting with the kids. If this isn't working,
right.
it might not be that the kids are broken, it might be that the system's broken.
And I think that's so important. And even with adults, if it's not working for you, you don't have to do it that way. You don't
Right.
have to do it that way because it's on Instagram or HGTV. You don't have to do it that way because a professional organizer said, hey, this is a great way to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
need to try it and then say, this isn't working for me. Why? And what can I now, right? Because you've gathered information and data.
Yes.
How can I now make this work better for me and my family? And I think that's critical.
Yep. And the older we get, I think the more we know. Like I can see someone else's organization system or productivity system and just go, oh, heck no. that would never work for me. So even though, I want to be organized or have this like desire to be more productive, you got to know which systems to even try and then not, try them as best you can. And if they don't work, don't be afraid to abandon ship and try something else with the goal of, yeah, like just productivity in your life, being able to put things away and get things out and find your items and not be crabby about the way your kitchen looks.
Well, exactly. And not be crabby with your family members.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, ultimately, I think organization needs to make life easier. Why? Because for me, the thing that's most important to me is my relationships with my family members.
Mm,
And so if I'm adamant that those granola bars have to be lined up neatly, and the rest of my family, it's causing conflict between us, I need to let that go. It's great that they're laying down in this container and everybody can make their own lunches.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's important to let it go when it's not working right and find something that works for everyone, a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. We are remodeling our kitchen within the next year, and I'm so excited. I'll have like an actual walk-in pantry for the first
Oh,
time in my
nice.
life, and I'm like constantly thinking like, how are we gonna do it? And baskets, and I thought like, for once, I am going to invest in nice-looking baskets. But like you've just edited that a little because yes, like start with boxes that come into your house anyway, make sure that the size and the organization is correct before investing. So I'm already like super excited that we had this interview, and so that's my big takeaway. But I always love to leave our families with like one practical step they can do today to just make a little change and a small win in their household. So what would that one practical thing be for you, Susan?
Okay, well, I'm going to have to preface it with something first.
No, it's not allowed. No, I'm kidding.
Just like we're saying, I just want to really stress that you're not married to the organization system. So you don't work for the organization system, it works for you. So find what works for you. And you know what? I guess I'm not going to preface it. I think that's going to be my one thing. All the things that we've talked about, all the tips that are available, everywhere, find the ones that work for you and the life that you're creating with your children and your family.
That's great. So really a thought exercise today. I would say the practical tip is to think about it, to walk into your kitchen and think, what's not working? What maybe should I abandon? What should I refigure or rejigger and figure it out?
And be prepared that in a year or two, whether you move or not, you may be changing it again because your kids grow older and have new needs. So
absolutely.
Be flexible.
Well, tell us, you have a free gift for our audience. Tell us a little bit about this checklist.
So on the checklist, I've listed items that will often come into your home that are easy to repurpose, and I've given you some ideas of different ways you could repurpose those items. And let me leave you with one last example. And this is it. This comes with cookies or crackers. And look, it's a perfect tray. You can put different utensils to organize forks, knives, spoons. So this is the kind of example that's in the checklist. Items that probably come into your home and ways that you could repurpose them.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for inspiring our creativity with that. We'll leave links to that free gift from Susan anywhere that this video is shown. And of course, also you can find Susan online at organize31.com and Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter at Organize31 with all the beautiful pictures, but also, which I love, the practical tips to save your budget, save your environment, and save you time. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me.
And everyone, this has been Katie Kimball for the Healthy Parenting Connector. I will see you back again next week for another expert bringing you information you need to raise those truly healthy kids with a healthy side dish of balance, of course. Thank you.